My beloved child, listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal is not random, not symbolic, and not meant for everyone. This message found you because a battle shifted in the unseen realm, and you were part of it without even knowing. While you thought you were simply surviving your day, simply breathing through pressure, simply trying to hold things together, a line moved, a scale tipped. A moment changed direction because of your obedience, your restraint, your prayer, your silence, your endurance. Archangel Michael is stepping forward now, not with noise, but with authority. And he says this clearly: you were positioned at the right place, at the right time, with the right spirit, even though you did not understand the assignment. That is why this revelation feels sudden. That is why it feels like a wake-up call. Because heaven marked what you thought was small as critical. You may be asking, how could that be me? That question alone confirms the truth. Those who know their role too early often interfere with it. But you, my beloved child, were trusted to move without ego, without announcement, without awareness. And that is why the impact was so strong. There was a conflict forming. Not in headlines, not in public, but in the hidden layers of influence, over decisions, over timing, over outcomes connected to people you may never meet. Forces were aligning to delay something good, to weaken something pure, to redirect something that was meant to advance. And then you showed up. You did not fight with words. You did not confront anyone. You did not even feel brave. Yet something in you chose patience instead of reaction, integrity instead of compromise, faith instead of fear. And the moment you chose that, the trajectory shifted. Archangel Michael says, when you resisted responding the way you once would have, the opposition lost leverage. That pause you took, that broke momentum, that prayer you whispered, it opened a door. That tear you held back, it sealed a protection. Do not underestimate this. You have been trained quietly, through disappointment, through delay, through moments where you felt unseen and uncelebrated. You assumed those seasons were punishment or preparation, but they were actually positioning drills. Heaven was teaching you how to carry weight without collapsing under it. That is why the battle recognized you. There are people who speak loudly and shift nothing. And there are people like you, who move silently, and realms respond. Right now, you may feel an unusual calm mixed with confusion. A sense that something is done, but you cannot explain what. That is not imagination. That is the after effect of alignment. When a battle resolves, the atmosphere changes before the evidence appears. Archangel Michael says, the enemy accounted for many variables. They did not account for your obedience. And here is the part that may surprise you most. This was not a one-time occurrence. What happened recently was a confirmation, not a conclusion. Heaven allowed you to glimpse the result after the shift so you would finally understand who you are becoming. You are not being prepared to fight loudly. You are being prepared to stand firmly and let truth do the work. You have often wondered why certain conflicts seem to resolve themselves around you. Why tension dissolves after you leave a room. Why people rethink decisions after a simple conversation with you. It is because you carry a stabilizing authority, not emotional, not intellectual, but spiritual. Archangel Michael says, your presence interrupts escalation. And because of that, you are protected differently. Not from hardship, but from being overwhelmed by it. Battles may surround you, but they do not consume you. That is intentional. And now hear this carefully. The reason this message is urgent is because another moment is approaching. one that will feel ordinary on the surface, but will again carry unseen weight. You will be tempted to dismiss it, to say, "This doesn't matter," to think someone else will handle it. But heaven will be watching your response. Not because you will be punished if you miss it, but because what you choose will unlock acceleration. This time, the shift will not just be defensive. It will be forward-moving. Something will be released instead of merely protected. Archangel Michael is not warning you. He is affirming you. He says, "You did not fail. You did not delay destiny. You did not miss your moment. You fulfilled it. And now, you are being invited into awareness. From this point forward, pay attention to the moments that feel small but heavy, conversations that linger in your spirit, decisions that seem minor but tug at your conscience. These are not distractions. These are assignments wrapped in simplicity. You are not called to be dramatic. You are called to be accurate. And accuracy is what wins wars before they ever become visible. If your heart is beating a little faster right now, that is recognition. Not fear. Not excitement. Recognition. Something within you remembers this role, even if your mind is still catching up. Stay open. Stay steady. Stay humble. Because what shifted once is about to shift again, this time with your awareness included. My precious one, now that the veil has lifted just enough for you to sense what truly happened, Archangel Michael draws you closer, not to overwhelm you, but to steady you. He knows the moment after revelation can feel disorienting. When you realize your quiet choices carried unseen authority, the mind tries to rewind the past, searching for proof. But this message is not here to make you look backward. It is here to align you forward. You were never meant to know everything in advance. If you had, the weight might have altered your posture. Instead, heaven watched how you moved when you thought no one was counting. That is the kind of trust that cannot be rushed. Archangel Michael says the reason the battle shifted was not because you were stronger than others, but because you were willing to remain clean in a moment that invited compromise. But willingness is rare. There are many who want power, but very few who can be trusted with influence. Power seeks attention. Influence changes outcomes quietly. You were operating in influence long before you had language for it. That is why certain doors closed without explanation, and certain connections faded without conflict. Those were not losses. Those were safeguards. You may recall moments when you felt delayed, as if life was asking you to wait while others advanced. But what you did not see was that heaven was adjusting timing around you, not against you. A premature arrival would have exposed you to battles you were not meant to fight yet. So protection looked like pause. Preparation looked like obscurity. Archangel Michael says something important now. The role you played did not require visibility. It required consistency. And consistency is built in seasons where nothing seems to change. That is where your spirit learned endurance without bitterness. That is where your faith matured without applause. What shifted recently was not only external. Something inside you stabilized. You may notice you are less reactive, less easily pulled into chaos. That is because a layer of authority settled into place. Authority does not shout. It angers. And when you walk into a space now, things do not escalate the way they used to. You might still question yourself. That is natural. But doubt does not cancel assignment. It only proves you are human. Heaven is not offended by your questions. It is only attentive to your posture. And your posture has been one of humility. Archangel Michael is emphasizing discernment in this moment. Not suspicion, discernment. You will begin to sense when your response matters more than your words. You will know when silence carries more power than explanation. These are not instincts you learn from people. These are signals you received from alignment. And I'll hear this carefully. The reason this message is being spoken aloud is not to elevate you above others. It is to awaken responsibility. Awareness increases stewardship. What you carry now requires intentional rest, guarded speech, and honest prayer. Not long prayers, true ones. There will be moments ahead when you feel the urge to disengage completely, to withdraw and keep to yourself. Do not isolate. Isolation dulls discernment. Instead, stay connected to spaces that strengthen your spirit and sharpen your clarity. This is where alignment is maintained. And this is where I speak directly to you, listener to listener. If this message is resonating, if you feel that inner confirmation that something is unfolding beyond what you can see, take a moment to interact with this video. When you like and share it, you are not supporting noise. You are helping this message reach others who are also questioning why their quiet obedience mattered. Leave a comment, even a simple one, because your engagement becomes a signal. Subscribe if you have not already, so you stay connected to what is being released in sequence. This is not about algorithms alone. It is about staying positioned where clarity continues. Archangel Michael reminds you that alignment grows through community, not isolation. When you participate, you strengthen the flow, not just for yourself, but for others who are still searching for confirmation. There is more unfolding. This next layer will explain why certain people suddenly reappear in your thoughts, and why unfinished conversations are resurfacing in your spirit. This is not coincidence. It is recalibration. And trust me, you will want to understand what this means before you respond the wrong way. Stay with this message, because what comes next will bring precision to what you are feeling right now. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with a deeper firmness, because this stage is about understanding the why behind what you were allowed to touch. Until now, you have heard about the shift, the unseen battle, and your hidden role. But heaven does not reveal responsibility without also revealing intention. What you influenced was not random. It was connected to a chain, past, present, and future, linked by obedience. There are moments when God assigns people to outcomes, not to actions. You were not meant to do much, say much, or change much outwardly. You were meant to be something in that moment. And being is harder than doing. Doing can be performed. Being can't be faked. Archangel Michael says the battle you helped shift was one that depended on timing more than force. The opposition was strong but impatient. A rush assumed a wait. Heaven waited. And you waited too, even when you did not know you were waiting on behalf of others. That alignment of patience is what broke the advantage. You may not know who was affected. You may never know. And that is intentional. Because if your obedience required recognition, it would not have been pure. This assignment was sealed by humility. That is why it worked. There are people connected to your life, some close, some distant, who benefited from this shift without realizing why doors suddenly opened or burdens suddenly lifted. You were a buffer, a stabilizer, a quiet intercessor without the title. Archangel Michael says, you stood in the gap without knowing there was a gap, and heaven honors that kind of positioning. Now, something important must be clarified. This does not mean you are responsible for fixing everything. It means you are sensitive to moments that carry weight. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness. And awareness is dangerous to darkness. In the coming days, you may notice an increased sense of responsibility in small choices. what you say yes to, what you walk away from, what you delay responding to. These are not tests meant to exhaust you. They are refinements meant to protect what had been unlocked. You are not being asked to do more. You are being asked to remain aligned. Archangel Michael warns gently here. Do not rush to explain yourself to people who are uncomfortable with your growth. Explanation leaks energy. Silence preserves authority. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. There is also a healing happening in you that you did not ask for. Old guilt, old regret, old moments where you wondered if you failed God. Those are dissolving now. Because heaven is confirming something clearly. You were never late. You were never behind. You were never disqualified. You were hidden on purpose. And now, awareness is catching up with assignment. If you feel an emotional release while hearing this, allow it. That release is not weakness. It is recalibration. Something heavy being set down, something lighter being picked up. Archangel Michael says this is the season where your yes carries less fear and more peace. That peace is your sign, not excitement, not urgency. Peace. Before moving forward, there is a sacred activation connected to this moment. Type I accept my role in the comments if this message confirms what your spirit already knew. Blessing code 1441 is now released over those who respond in alignment. Now hear this, and hear it as part of the message, not separate from it. I feel led to speak directly to those whose hearts are burning right now. If this word has reached you, it is because God trusts you with truth. And there are others who are still waiting for clarity, still standing in confusion, still unaware that their obedience matters. When you choose to support this work, through super thanks, through membership, or through PayPal, you are not funding a channel. You are placing oil in a lamp so the light does not go out. The Lord says, what you sow here becomes bread in another soul's wilderness. This is your moment to act prophetically, not passively. The PayPal link is in the description, and your obedience in giving becomes a seed that speaks for you. I declare that every giver will see open heavens over their decisions and peace in their households. Do it now, as an act of alignment, not hesitation. What comes next will explain why this role is expanding, not louder, but wider. Stay steady. Stay listening. The unfolding has only just begun. My beloved one, as this message deepens, Archangel Michael now draws your attention to something subtle yet essential, the aftermath of a shifted battle. Many people believe the battle is the hard part, but in the spirit realm, what happens after the shift determines whether the victory holds. This is where wisdom is required, not effort. And this is where you are being gently guided now. When something changes behind the scenes, there is often a quiet period that follows. It can feel like stillness or even emptiness. You may wonder why, after such a meaningful alignment, nothing dramatic seems to be happening. But understand this clearly. Stabilization always comes before expansion. Heaven secures what moved before it multiplies it. Archangel Michael says you are currently standing in what he calls a sealed window. This is a protected interval where the enemy is restrained from immediate counteraction. Not because you are being hidden again, but because what shifted must be anchored into your character before it is expressed through your life. Victory that is not integrated becomes vulnerability. This is why you are being asked to slow down internally, even if life around you feels busy. You may notice a desire to simplify, to reduce unnecessary conversations, to pull back from explaining your thoughts. This is not withdrawal, it is consolidation. Something new has settled into you, and it requires space to root. There is also a recalibration happening in how you perceive people. You are beginning to sense intentions more clearly, without suspicion, without judgment. It feels like clarity without noise. Archangel Michael says this discernment is a byproduct of alignment, not something you have to force. You are not becoming harder. You are becoming clearer. Some relationships may feel slightly distant right now, even healthy ones. This does not mean separation. It means repositioning. Everyone adjusts when someone's internal authority increases, even if they cannot name why. Allow this adjustment. Do not rush to restore old dynamics out of comfort. Let the new balance establish itself naturally. You may also feel a quiet confidence replacing old patterns of second-guessing. Not arrogance, not certainty about outcomes, but certainty about your posture. You know when to speak. You know when to wait. And you know when something does not require your energy. That knowing is not learned. It is imparted. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that what you carry now is not meant to impress others. It is meant to steady environments. You may find that people open up to you without knowing why, or that tension eases when you enter a space. This is not because you have answers. It is because your presence no longer feeds chaos. There will be a temptation to test this authority, to see if it works, to measure it by outcomes. Resist that urge. Authority is not proven by performance. It is revealed by consistency. Simply remain who you are becoming, and let the fruit appear on its own. You are also being healed from urgency. That constant feeling that you must act quickly, or you will miss something, is loosening its grip. Archangel Michael says this is crucial because urgency often imitates purpose. But true assignment carries peace, even when it requires courage. In this phase, you are being trained to recognize when something is not yours to carry. You do not need to intervene in every situation. Discernment will tell you when your involvement matters and when your restraint matters more. Both are forms of obedience. Pay attention to your inner responses over the next few days. Notice what drains you and what strengthens you. This is not emotional self-focus. It is spiritual intelligence. Your energy is part of your stewardship now. There is also a reminder being given regarding rest. Not escape, not distraction, but real rest. The kind that restores clarity. When authority increases, rest becomes strategic, not optional. Protected. Archangel Michael says, you are not preparing for conflict. You are preparing for influence. And influence requires longevity. That is why your pace is being adjusted. If at any point you feel unsure, return to simplicity. Truth does not require complication. The right choice will often feel quiet but clear. The wrong one will feel loud but unsettled. The stage may not feel dramatic, but it is decisive. What you integrate now determines how smoothly the next expansion unfolds. Stay grounded. Stay honest. Stay receptive. What is coming will require the stability you are building now. And you will recognize the moment, not by pressure, but by peace. Remain here. Remain steady. The unfolding continues. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now invites you to understand something that has been quietly shaping your journey for a long time: the difference between preparation and promotion. Many people rush toward visible change, assuming that when God moves, everything must look different immediately. But heaven works in layers, and you have been moving through those layers with more grace than you realize. What you are experiencing now is not a pause. It is a strengthening of foundation. Foundations are never celebrated, but they determine how much weight a structure can hold. And the weight that is coming into your life is not pressure. It is responsibility paired with trust. You may have noticed that situations which once unsettled you no longer have the same effect. The same words do not sting as deeply. The same uncertainty does not shake you as intensely. This is not emotional numbness. This is maturity of spirit. Archangel Michael says you are learning how to remain centered while things move around you. That skill alone protects destiny. There is also a quiet detachment for me, not from people but from outcomes. You are beginning to do what is right without needing to control how it turns out. This is one of the clearest signs that alignment has taken root. When obedience is no longer tied to expectation, authority increases naturally. Heaven has been watching how you handle small inconveniences lately. Delays, misunderstandings, moments where you could easily react but choose restraint. These are not insignificant. They are confirmations. Every time you choose peace over proving a point, you strengthen what was shifted earlier. Archangel Michael wants you to know that the enemy often waits until after a breakthrough to attempt distraction, not confrontation. Distraction looks harmless. It feels like busyness, overthinking, unnecessary explaining, or revisiting old questions that were already settled. Stay aware. Anything that pulls you away from clarity without offering wisdom is not worth your energy. You may feel drawn to clean up areas of your life, physically, emotionally, spiritually. This is alignment expressing itself. Order invites flow. Simplicity invites strength. As you release clutter, you make room for precision. There is also an increase in intuition happening now. You may sense when something is off before evidence appears. Do not dismiss this. Discernment does not always come with reasons. Sometimes it comes with restraint. Trust what brings peace, not what demands urgency. Archangel Michael emphasizes boundaries in this phase. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. You decide what enters and what exits. Not everyone needs access to your process. Protecting your space is part of protecting the assignment. You might also experience moments of reflection where you realize how far you have come without noticing. That realization may bring emotion. Allow it. Gratitude grows growth. It reminds you that nothing was wasted. This stage is also teaching you to recognize divine timing. Not everything that looks good is meant for now. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Discernment will help you distinguish between what is merely available and what is truly aligned. Archangel Michael says, you are learning how to move without force. That is significant. Force creates resistance. Alignment creates cooperation. The more aligned you are, the less you have to push. If you feel a pull to pray differently, to speak less and listen more, follow that leading. Prayer is shifting from request to communion. You are not asking for direction as much as you are receiving confirmation. There may be moments when you feel unseen again. Do not mistake that for regression. Obscurity revisits right before expansion, not to hide you, but to protect you from premature exposure. What is forming needs strength before spotlight. Remember this. Your worth is not measured by visibility. It is measured by obedience. And obedience has been your quiet language for a long time. As you continue forward, keep your inner life honest. Do not suppress emotions, but do not let them lead. Acknowledge them, then return to truth. Truth steadies emotion, not the other way around. You are not behind. You are not waiting for permission. You are already walking in assignment, just not the final expression of it yet. What is ahead will require the clarity you are gaining now. And when the moment comes, you will recognize it, not because it feels overwhelming, but because it feels right. Stay present. Stay aligned. The unfolding continues, and you are exactly where you need to be. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now turns your attention to a shift that is happening not around you, but within how you perceive movement itself. Until now, you were trained to endure, to hold, to remain steady under pressure. But this phase is about learning when to move and when to remain still, without fear driving either choice. This discernment is essential, because not every motion is progress, and not every stillness is delay. You may have noticed that life feels quieter in certain areas and louder in others. This is not imbalance. This is redirection. Heaven is gently lowering the volume on distractions while amplifying what truly matters. What once competed for your attention is beginning to lose its pull, and what aligns with your purpose is becoming clearer, even if it feels unfamiliar. Archangel Michael says this clarity is a reward for endurance. You stayed when it was uncomfortable. You remained honest when it would have been easier to adapt. And because of that, your inner compass has been recalibrated. You are no longer guided by urgency or approval, but by alignment. There is something important about this stage. You are being trusted with choice. Earlier seasons required obedience without understanding. This season allows understanding without pressure. You are being invited to choose wisely, not quickly. And wisdom often feels slower than impulse, but it carries far greater reach. You may sense opportunities approaching, ideas, invitations, conversations that feel promising but slightly misaligned. They are not bad. They are simply not yours. Learning to say no without guilt is part of stepping into influence. Archangel Michael says restraint now will create room for acceleration later. There is also an emotional steadiness growing in you. Situations that once triggered strong reactions now pass through you with less turbulence. This is not indifference. It is regulation. You are learning how to hold your ground without hardening your heart. That balance is rare. At the same time, you may feel moments of restlessness. Not anxiety, but a quiet awareness that something is forming. This is anticipation without agitation. Let it be. Do not try to force clarity. What needs to be revealed will surface at the right moment. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this phase is about integration. Everything you have learned about patience, humility, discernment, is being woven into how you naturally respond to life. You are no longer switching between spiritual mode and daily life. Alignment is becoming your default. There is also a strengthening of your voice happening, even if you are speaking less. When you do speak, words land differently. They carry weight. This is because your speech is now backed by consistency. Authority follows integrity. You may notice people responding to you differently. Some may seek your perspective more often. Others may feel unsettled without knowing why. This is not something you need to manage. Simply remain kind, clear, and grounded. Reactions reveal alignment gaps in others, not flaws in you. And now, I want to speak directly to you as someone walking this journey with awareness. If this message is resonating, if you feel seen and steadied by what is being shared, take a moment to interact with this video. Like it, so this message is anchored in your feed. Share it with someone who may be quietly carrying more than they realize. Leave a comment, because your voice creates connection. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, so you stay aligned with what is being released in order. Your participation matters more than you think. And as you do, stay with this message. What comes next will bring insight into why certain doors are closing without explanation and why others are about to open with surprising ease. This is where understanding deepens, and you will want to recognize the signs when they appear. Archangel Michael reminds you that alignment is not static. It is lived daily in choices that seem small but shape direction. Continue to choose clarity over confusion, peace over pressure, and truth over convenience. You are not waiting for life to begin. It has already begun to shift around your posture. And the more you trust this process, the more fluid the next transition will feel. Remain attentive. Remain grounded. The unfolding is accelerating quietly, and you are prepared for what is coming. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now draws your awareness to something that has been subtly rearranging itself around you. Momentum. Not the kind that rushes or overwhelms, but the kind that builds quietly, steadily, without resistance. This is important, because many people misunderstand momentum as speed. But true momentum feels calm. It feels inevitable. And that is what is beginning to surround your life now. You may sense that things are starting to line up without you forcing them. Conversations flow more naturally. Decisions feel clearer. Obstacles that once felt immovable are no longer demanding your attention. This is not coincidence. It is the result of alignment holding long enough for movement to become natural. Archangel Michael says that when alignment stabilizes, momentum follows automatically. You do not chase it. You do not manufacture it. It comes because resistance has been removed. Much of that resistance was internal. Self-doubt, overanalysis, the habit of questioning your own discernment. Those patterns are loosening their grip. There is a new simplicity forming in how you approach life. You are no longer trying to interpret every sign or decode every delay. You are responding instead of reacting. The shift alone changes outcomes more than effort ever could. You may notice that your energy is more consistent. Highs are calmer. Lows are shorter. This is emotional maturity settling in. Archangel Michael says emotional stability is one of the greatest forms of spiritual authority because it prevents external circumstances from hijacking your direction. At this stage, it is important not to romanticize struggle. You are not meant to prove your strength by enduring unnecessary hardship. Wisdom will now show you when to step back, when to speak, and when to let things resolve without your involvement. Not everything requires your intervention anymore. There is also a refinement happening in your desires. Things you once wanted intensely no longer feel essential, and things you never considered before are gently drawing your attention. This is not confusion. It is recalibration. Desire aligns with purpose over time. Archangel Michael emphasizes that you are entering a phase where timing matters more than effort. Being early or late can create friction, even with good intentions. That is why patience is still being strengthened in you, not passive waiting but attentive readiness. You may feel moments where you are aware of an opening before it fully appears, a sense that something is approaching but not yet clear. When that happens, do not rush to fill the gap. Let the opening reveal itself fully. Premature movement can distort alignment. This is also a season of increased trust, both in God and in yourself. Not blind trust, but earned trust. You have seen enough evidence now to know that when you follow peace, things hold. When you force outcomes, things fracture. That awareness is becoming instinctive. Archangel Michael says, you are learning how to move with heaven instead of ahead of it. That distinction matters. Moving ahead creates exhaustion. Moving with creates endurance. There may be people from your past who resurface unexpectedly. Some will seek closure. Others will seek access. Discernment will tell you the difference. Closure brings peace. Access demands explanation. You are not obligated to reopen doors that were closed for protection. As momentum builds, clarity becomes even more important. Guard your thought life, not by suppressing questions, but by anchoring them in truth. If a thought brings fear without insight, it does not deserve your attention. If it brings clarity without pressure, it is worth listening to. Archangel Michael also reminds you that humility remains your greatest protection. Growth does not require comparison. Your path does not need validation. What is meant for you will recognize you without competition. You may feel an increased desire for depth over surface interaction. Less noise, fewer opinions, more substance. This is a natural response to alignment. Depth nourishes what is growing in you. Surface engagement drains it. Do not be surprised if your priorities continue to shift. What once felt urgent may now feel optional. What once felt optional may now feel essential. This is not inconsistency. It is maturity adjusting focus. This phase is preparing you for visibility without vulnerability. Not exposure, but recognition. And recognition carries responsibility. That is why your inner life is being strengthened first. Archangel Michael says the next unfolding will involve clarity about direction, not a dramatic announcement, but a quiet knowing that settles deeply. When it comes, you will not feel rushed. You will feel ready. Remain grounded in what you know to be true. Continue to choose peace over pressure. Let momentum build naturally. You are not being pushed forward. You are being carried forward by alignment that has already been established. Stay present. Stay aware. What is forming now will soon become visible, and you will recognize it as familiar, not foreign. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with a clarity that feels both gentle and unshakable, because this phase is about recognition, not from people, but from your own spirit. There comes a moment when alignment stops feeling like a process and starts feeling like identity. You are no longer trying to stay grounded. You are grounded. And that changes how everything approaches you. You may notice that you are no longer surprised by peace. Earlier, peace felt fragile, like something that could be interrupted at any moment. Now it feels established. This is because your inner world has reached a level of agreement. Your thoughts, your intentions, and your actions are no longer pulling in different directions. Unity has replaced inner conflict. Archangel Michael says this inner agreement is what qualifies you for the next expansion. Heaven does not release greater influence to a divided inner life. It releases it to those who are integrated, those who move as one within themselves. There is also a new awareness forming around value. You are beginning to understand your worth without needing proof. This does not make you distant. It makes you discerning. You are no longer trying to earn space in rooms where you were never meant to shrink. You simply take your place where alignment welcomes you. You may feel less tolerant of environments that thrive on chaos, gossip, or constant urgency. This is not judgment. It is compatibility. Your nervous system has learned peace, and it will resist returning to noise. Under that, where your peace is compromised, your clarity soon follows. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that what you are carrying now is not fragile. It does not require constant defense. Truth sustains itself. You do not have to convince anyone of who you are becoming. Those who are meant to recognize it will, and those who do not are not obstacles. They are indicators. There is a subtle authority in you now that does not demand attention, but commands respect. You may see this in how conversations pause when you speak, or how decisions are reconsidered after your input. This is not because you are forceful. It is because you are clear. This phase also brings discernment about timing. You are learning when to act immediately and when to wait without anxiety. Waiting no longer feels like loss of momentum. It feels like strategy. You trust that what is meant to move will move at the right moment. Archangel Michael says that soon you will be asked to step into a role that feels familiar yet new. Familiar because you have been prepared for it internally. New because you have never occupied it externally. When this invitation comes, it will not feel overwhelming. It will feel aligned. You may also notice a deepening of compassion, not the kind that overextends, but the kind that understands without absorbing. You can care without carrying. This is essential because empathy without boundaries leads to depletion. You are learning how to love wisely. At this stage, reflection becomes important. Take moments to acknowledge how far you have come. Not with pride, but with gratitude. Gratitude anchors growth. It prevents you from rushing past what was hard-earned. Archangel Michael says that the next unfolding will require trust in what you sense, even when logic is not caught up yet. You have been trained to recognize peace as confirmation. Continue to honor that signal. Before moving forward, there is a sacred moment of alignment being released now. Type "I stand aligned" in the comments if this message resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 8883 is now activated for those who respond in faith and awareness. I feel led to speak to those whose hearts are steady, but burning quietly. This work exists so that hidden carriers like you can recognize yourselves before doubt silences you again. When you support this mission, through super thanks, through membership, or through PayPal, you are not giving to a person. You are fueling a river of light that reaches those still standing in confusion. The Lord is saying, those who pour into this stream will never lack clarity in their own decisions. Your giving becomes a prophetic response, not a financial act. The PayPal link is in the description, and heaven records obedience before amounts. I speak blessing over every supporter, that your homes be covered, your paths be clear, and your peace remain unshaken. Act now, not out of pressure, but out of alignment. What comes next will reveal how this alignment begins to touch others through you, without striving, without performance. Stay open. Stay grounded. The unfolding continues, and it is moving with precision. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now invites you into a deeper understanding of what alignment produces once it begins to overflow. Until now, much of what you have experienced has been internal: clarity, steadiness, discernment, peace. But alignment never remains contained. When it is genuine, it begins to influence environments, relationships, and outcomes beyond your immediate awareness. You may start to notice that people respond differently to you without knowing why. Some feel comforted. Others feel challenged. Both reactions are natural. When truth becomes embodied, it mirrors what is aligned in others and exposes what is not. This is not something you are doing intentionally. It is simply the effect of carrying clarity without apology. Archangel Michael says that this is the stage where responsibility increases quietly. Not responsibility to fix others, but responsibility to remain consistent. Consistency is what makes influence trustworthy. People may come to you seeking reassurance, guidance, or simply peace. You are not required to have answers. Often, your grounded presence is enough. There is also a strengthening of spiritual boundaries happening now. You are becoming more aware of what belongs to you and what does not. Emotional residue from others no longer lingers as long. You recover faster. You release quicker. This is not detachment. It is discernment in action. You may notice that situations resolve themselves without your direct involvement. Conflicts soften. Decisions change course. Delays lift. This does not mean you are controlling outcomes. It means alignment is doing the work for you. When your posture is right, effort becomes minimal. Archangel Michael emphasizes that humility remains key in this phase. Not the humility that minimizes your growth, but the humility that keeps you teachable. Growth without humility becomes rigidity. Growth with humility remains flexible and responsive. There may be moments when you are tempted to step back into old patterns, over-explaining, second-guessing, or seeking reassurance. When that happens, pause. Return to what you know. Peace is still your compass. If something requires you to abandon peace to maintain it, it is not aligned. You are also learning how to steward silence. Silence is not absence. It is presence without noise. There will be times when silence protects more than words ever could. Trust that. Archangel Michael says that discernment is now operating faster in you. What once took days to process now takes moments. You feel clarity sooner. You recognize misalignment earlier. This is a gift, but it must be handled gently. Do not rush to conclusions. Let clarity settle before you act. There is also a subtle shift happening in how you see your past. Old memories may resurface, not to reopen wounds, but to show you how far you have come. What once felt painful now feels informative. Healing has taken place more deeply than you realized. You may feel drawn to simplify your future plans. Not because you lack vision, but because you value precision. Fewer commitments. Clear intentions. Stronger follow-through. This refinement is part of stewardship. What you carry now deserves focus. Archangel Michael reminds you that influence is not measured by numbers or recognition. It is measured by impact. An impact often happens quietly, in moments you may never witness fully. Trust that what is planted will grow in its own time. There is also an invitation in this season to deepen trust in God's timing. Not passive waiting, but active readiness. You are no longer anxious about what is next. You are attentive. That posture keeps you responsive without being reactive. You may sense that a turning point is approaching, one that will require a clear yes or a clear no. When that moment comes, it will not feel dramatic. It will feel simple. Alignment strips complexity from decisions. Archangel Michael says, you are being prepared to carry influence without losing yourself. That is why self-awareness is increasing. You recognize when you need rest. You recognize when you need connection. You recognize when you need solitude. Honoring these signals preserves longevity. Do not underestimate the power of your current rhythm. The way you move through your days, the way you respond to pressure, the way you treat yourself, all of this is shaping what comes next. Destiny is not built in single moments, but in repeated choices. As this phase continues, remain attentive but unstrained, curious but grounded, open but discerning. You do not need to rush ahead. What is meant to meet you is already moving in your direction. The unfolding is nearing another point of clarity. When it arrives, it will not disrupt your peace. It will deepen it. Stay steady. Stay aligned. What comes next will bring confirmation to everything you have been sensing. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now brings your attention to a threshold moment, one that does not announce itself loudly, but quietly asks for your agreement. Thresholds are not dramatic events. They are decisions that feel small but redirect momentum. You are standing near one now, and that is why awareness feels heightened. You may sense a narrowing of focus, not limitation but precision. Options that once seemed equally appealing are separating in clarity. One path feels calm and steady. Another feels exciting but unsettled. This distinction is important. Peace is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of alignment. And alignment always carries a quieter confidence than impulse. Archangel Michael says that at this stage, discernment will be tested not by obvious wrong choices, but by good ones that are mistimed. Timing is the gatekeeper of impact. The right action at the wrong time can dilute influence. That is why patience remains a companion here, not waiting out of fear, but waiting out of wisdom. You are also becoming aware of how quickly your inner state affects your outer environment. When you are grounded, situations soften. When you rush, friction appears. This is not condemnation. It is feedback. Heaven is teaching you to read the atmosphere within before responding to what is around you. There is a strengthening of resolve happening now. You are less tempted to revisit decisions that were made in clarity. Second guessing is losing its appeal because you have learned the cost of indecision. When you choose now, you choose with integrity, not urgency. Archangel Michael emphasizes stewardship in this phase of time, of energy, of attention. What you give your focus to grows. What you starve of attention weakens. This is not about control. It is about cultivation. You are learning to invest where there is life. You may notice that conversations feel different. You listen more. You speak with intention. Words carry weight because they are no longer scattered. This does not make you distant. It makes you present. Presence is one of the clearest forms of respect. There may also be a sense of readiness building, like standing at the edge of movement without needing to leap. This readiness is calm, not restless. It trusts that when the step is required, clarity will accompany it. Archangel Michael says, "You are learning how to act without anxiety." That lesson alone protects what is coming next. Anxiety rushes. Trust steadies. And what you are being given requires steady hands. At this point, I want to speak directly to you as part of this unfolding. If this message is helping you stay grounded, take a moment to interact with it. Like the video so this word continues to find you. Share it with someone who may be standing at a similar threshold without language for it. Leave a comment. Your words create connection and confirmation. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now, so you remain aligned with what is being released in order. This is about staying connected to clarity as it unfolds. As you do that, stay with this message. What follows will bring insight into how this threshold turns into movement, and why what looks subtle now will soon feel undeniable. Hold on. What comes next will sharpen everything you are sensing. Archangel Michael also brings a gentle caution here. Do not confuse peace with passivity. Peace does not mean you do nothing. It means you do the right thing at the right time. When the moment arrives, action will feel simple, not forced. You may feel a renewed respect for boundaries, your own and others. Boundaries are becoming easier to maintain because you no longer see them as rejection. You see them as alignment. This protects relationships that are meant to last and releases those that are meant to shift. There is also an invitation to simplify commitments, not to withdraw but to focus. Fewer yeses, clear nos. This clarity preserves energy for what truly matters. What you are stepping into does not require constant availability. It requires consistency. Archangel Michael says the coming movement will not require you to become someone else. It will require you to be more fully who you already are. That is why integration hath been so important. You are not performing alignment, you are living it. As this part closes, remain attentive to the quiet confirmations. A sense of rightness, a settled heart, a clear mind. These are signals, not emotions. Trust them. The threshold is not behind you. It is before you. and you are prepared to cross it with clarity, not pressure. Stay grounded. Stay aligned. The unfolding continues. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks into a space of quiet readiness, because what is unfolding is no longer about preparation alone, but about transition. Transition does not always announce itself with change on the outside. Often, it begins with a deep inner certainty that something has already shifted, even before the environment reflects it. That is where you are now. You may feel as though you are standing between what was and what will be. Not stuck, not delayed, but suspended in awareness. This in-between space is sacred. It is where clarity settles, where intention becomes firm, and where fear loses its voice. Many rush through this stage because it feels unfamiliar. But you are being invited to honor it. Archangel Michael says this is the moment where alignment turns into direction. Until now, you were learning how to stay centered, how to remain steady, how to recognize peace. And now, that peace is beginning to point somewhere. Not loudly, not urgently, gently but consistently. You may notice a recurring thought, a theme, or an idea returning without force. It does not feel obsessive. It feels persistent. This is not imagination. This is direction taking shape. Heaven often repeats what matters until it becomes undeniable. At the same time, you may feel less attached to outcomes than ever before. This is important. Attachment does not mean lack of care. It means trust. You are no longer trying to control how things unfold, because you trust that alignment will carry you where you need to go. This trust is not naive. It is earned. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize how much fear has already lost its influence over you. Fear may still appear, but it no longer leads. It speaks, but it is not obeyed. This is a major shift. When fear loses authority, clarity gains momentum. There may be subtle endings happening now. Not dramatic closures, but gentle conclusions. Interests fading. Habits loosening. Conversations naturally coming to a close. These are not losses. They are completions. What is ending has served its purpose. You are also becoming more selective with your energy. You no longer feel the need to explain every choice or justify every boundary. This is not defensiveness. It is confidence. Confidence does not argue. It moves quietly and allows results to speak later. Archangel Michael says that the next step will require courage, but not the kind that fights fear. It will require the kind that trusts peace even when the path is unfamiliar. Familiarity is not a sign of alignment. Peace is. You may sense that when the movement comes, it will not be rushed. It will feel like a natural next step rather than a leap. That is because you have been walking toward it internally for a long time. The outer step will simply catch up. There is also a reminder in this phase to remain present. Do not live too far ahead of yourself. Anticipation can be healthy, but living in the future steals strength from the now. What you need for the next step will be given in the moment you take it. Archangel Michael emphasizes integrity here. Not moral perfection, but wholeness. Living without internal contradiction. Saying yes when you mean yes. Saying no when you mean no. This integrity sharpens direction and protects you from confusion. You may also notice that your prayers feel different. Less asking, more listening, more gratitude, more trust. This is a sign of maturity. Relationship has replaced transaction. You are not negotiating with God, you are walking with Him. There may be moments of silence where you expect instruction and receive none. Do not be unsettled by this. Silence does not mean absence. It often means agreement. Heaven is not always speaking because you are already aligned. Archangel Michael says, you are closer than you think. Not closer to an event, but closer to expression. What has been forming internally is nearing the point where it can move outward without distortion. As this stage unfolds, continue to choose honesty with yourself. If something feels forced, pause. If something feels peaceful, pay attention. Your inner responses are now reliable indicators. You are not being tested. You are being trusted. Trusted to listen. Trusted to wait. Trusted to move when clarity arrives. Very soon, the next unfolding will bring closure to this cycle and open the next one fully. When that happens, you will not feel surprised. You will feel ready. Remain steady. Remain receptive. What is coming will not disrupt your peace. It will confirm it. My beloved child, Archangel Michael now stands at the close of this revelation, not to end the journey, but to seal what has been spoken. Endings in the spirit are never conclusions. They are confirmations. What you have received through this message was not information. It was recognition. Heaven was not explaining something new to you. It was reminding you of something your spirit already carried. You now understand why certain moments in your life felt heavier than they looked. Why small decisions carried unusual weight. Why restraint mattered more than reaction. You were never insignificant in those moments. You were essential. And heaven honored what you did not even know you were doing. Archangel Michael says the greatest shifts rarely announce themselves. They happen quietly, through people who choose alignment over attention. That is who you have been becoming. Not someone who needs to be seen, but someone whose presence changes outcomes. As this cycle completes, you may notice a deep sense of calm settle in you. Not relief, but resolution. The questions that once circled your mind no longer demand answers. The need to prove yourself has faded. This is because your spirit has reached agreement with your assignment. What comes next will not feel like pressure. It will feel like permission. Permission to move forward without dragging the past. Permission to trust your discernment without constant confirmation. Permission to walk in influence without shrinking or striving. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer standing in the shadow of what you survived. You are standing in the light of what you carried. That light is not loud, but it is steady. And steady light guides others without blinding them. There will be people ahead who benefit from your presence without knowing why. Situations that resolve because you chose peace. Doors that open because you did not force the wrong ones. This is not coincidence. This is alignment in motion. You may not always recognize the impact you are having, and that is intentional. The moment impact becomes the goal, purity weakens. Your role is not to measure results. Your role is to remain faithful to clarity. Archangel Michael reminds you that humility will continue to be your covering. Not humility that diminishes you, but humility that keeps you teachable. The more you grow, the more grounded you must remain. This balance protects longevity. As this message seals, take a moment to breathe and acknowledge what has shifted inside you. Something has settled. Something has lifted. Something has aligned. That is not imagination. That is confirmation. Now receive this final activation. Type "I walk in divine alignment" in the comments if this message has confirmed your calling and steadied your spirit. Blessing code 1212 is now released over your path, your decisions, and your future steps. I speak to those whose hearts stayed through every word, not out of curiosity, but out of recognition. This message exists because God is reaching those who were shifting battles without applause. When you support this mission, through super thanks, through membership, or through PayPal, You are not supporting a channel. You are answering a divine call. The Lord says, "Those who sow into this ground will see clarity where there was confusion and peace where there was pressure." Your giving becomes a prophetic act that releases light into places still waiting for confirmation. The PayPal donation link is in the description, and heaven honors obedience before amounts. I declare that every supporter will walk under open heavens, with protection over their households and wisdom in every decision. Obey now. Move now. Let your support become part of the testimony God is writing through this work. My beloved child, this revelation is sealed. Walk forward without fear. What you carry has already made room for you.